Chuck Blair here. Great to have you joining me this morning for 10 minutes of morning calm. And today we're looking at the question, what is your job? What's your job? What is your vocation? And it's kind of an interesting question to ask and to think about when it comes down to it at the sort of the ultimate of reality, the bedrock. What is our job? Sort of what is our job? What are we here to do? And we're looking at a beautiful line here, and it's a piece of Christian New Church theology talking about an internal sense to the Bible. There's Abram. He's going through all these different battles, and think of it like this beautiful poetic truth around these beautiful, beautiful, beautiful concepts. And one of the concepts is, as we go through this wrestling, we start to understand more and more about how the world works, about how things are set up, how the spiritual world impacts our lives, and that's a very powerful perspective to have. And so, if we're going to take a look over the next couple of days, there's basically three tiers. There's an inner self, there's an intermediary self, a middle self, and then an outer self. And so much of our spiritual lives is about getting all these things lined up, to get them all working together, which takes time. And that's God's work, really, not ours. We just do the best we can and humbly allow those things to kind of work their way through us. So I want to start with that idea of what the inmost is, and that really starts to point to what is our job. What is your job? Here's the line. In every individual, in other words, every person, the inner self belongs to the Lord alone. And because that is where he stores up the good impulses and true thoughts that he gives us as gifts from the time we are very small. And that is where he stores up the good impulses and true thoughts that he gives us as gifts from the time we are very small. So we have in our inmost, in our really deep, deep, deep kind of core soul, we have all these gifts that God is constantly giving us, and they're really protected by the Lord alone. They're God. There's this deep part of that doesn't make us God. It makes us gift receivers from God, and there's these deep gifts that are His to give, and that we get to have in our very core. And the beautiful part of that, folks, when we look at what is your job, what is your vocation, your job is to reflect God's love out there into the world. You're made in the image and likeness of God. One of the most startling teachings in the whole Bible. You are made in the image and likeness of God. You are image and likeness bearers of God's love. So if we have that as a starting point, then we get that there are these gifts. Then we get that we are to reflect those gifts as best we can out there in the world, as humbly as we can out there in the world, using them to serve our fellow humanity, because that's where we'll be most content. Then all of a sudden it becomes just such a different idea of what our vocation is, because our vocation literally is allowing those gifts to come to life, allowing those gifts to move out through there into our lives. And it's truly a miracle when we watch people, right, who are aligned. And we're not all aligned all the time. I imagine almost everyone here watching has had at least a couple of moments where they all lined up, where those gifts really were able to be offered to the world. And that's what we really want to do. We want to just keep on offering that. And just notice when we have those times, time simply disappears. Time becomes irrelevant, and we're just in the flow of life, in the flow of the way life should really be. And that's why, again, get said again and again, if you're struggling, find a place to serve. And it's really true. I mentioned this a few weeks ago. I was listening to this wonderful podcaster. She said, when people come to me and ask about therapy, I wonder sometimes if I'd be better off telling them, do a community service project for 3 months and then see if you need therapy. Kind of an interesting perspective there. And I think there is more than just a little grain of truth to that we really do have to learn as best we can to serve other people, not in a codependent way, not in a way that depletes us, but in a way that allows those gifts to be stirred, and for us to understand what is our job, what is our vocation, is to reflect God's love. So just if you're stuck today, I know this morning, and it was around a few things, my head started spinning, and just, if I can get back, you can get back, we can get back to just remembering, oh yeah, what's my job today? My job today is just to reflect God's love. Just that simple. I think it'll put us all in a much, much better place. So I hope that makes sense, my friends. And then we'll take a look at some of these other layers and levels tomorrow as we talk about how do we get them all lined up, which is known as integrity. And it's a beautiful state of human beingness. All right, friends. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a little breath. We're going to do a little meditation. We're going to do a little prayer. We're going to do a little blessing. We're going to then say hi to folks on social media. So the way we're going to get that started is this. We're all just going to get a big breath. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's get a little cheery hello to folks. And again, I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. I know I certainly did. Susan had a great time this weekend. All right. Some number of comments there. All right. Linda writes, good morning and thank you. And you are welcome, Linda. By the way, great to get our little group together for dinner this week. That certainly was fun. And Marcus, good morning to you, buddy. Always great to see you joining us and all the different things you do for New Church Live. And now let's flip on to, all right. And yes, and Sherry writes, love this perspective. And it's a beautiful perspective, and it starts with this idea of Sherry, original blessing. I feel like, boy, we need to come back to that again and again and again. Lots of stuff in life gets upside down in a hurry, that's for sure. And yet we can keep coming back to just taking a breath and resting in this idea that, God's got it and that life is good. All right, dear friends, that's what I have this morning. Wishing you all the very best today. Take care. Bye-bye.